I had spent weeks turning this neglected strip of land into the driveway I always wanted. Then one Monday morning, I discovered someone else had decided it belonged to them. At first, I thought it was an honest mistake. The SUV was sitting across my driveway like nobody had even noticed the problem. They told me the HOA had supposedly changed the parking arrangement. According to them, my driveway was now being treated as overflow space. I didn't argue in the street. I went inside and pulled out every document I had. The property survey made one thing very clear. The driveway was part of my lot. I compared the survey with the physical markers in the ground. There was no mystery anymore. The boundary was exactly where I thought it was. I brought the survey to the HOA board and asked one simple question. Who authorized residents to use private property as parking? The room went unusually quiet. Nobody could point to a rule that gave them the authority they were claiming. The HOA finally agreed that my driveway was private. I decided I wasn't going to leave the boundary unclear ever again. I measured the driveway from end to end and marked the boundary exactly as the survey showed. No guessing, no confrontation, just facts. I hired a local contractor to install a clean, HOA-approved boundary treatment. It looked better than before, and now nobody could pretend they didn't know where the driveway ended. The next morning, they stood there staring at the new boundary. For the first time, they seemed to understand that the parking space wasn't theirs. The HOA sent someone over to inspect everything personally. I welcomed her because I knew the paperwork was on my side. She checked the survey, checked the markers, and checked the driveway measurements. Then she finally nodded. The HOA officially confirmed that my driveway was private property. The neighbors were told to keep their vehicles on designated parking areas. Then the strangest thing happened. A landscaping delivery arrived for the neighbors, and suddenly their convenient parking spot wasn't so convenient anymore. They had planned a landscaping project that would reduce their own extra parking space. Ironically, the project they chose made them rethink how much parking they actually needed. For the first time, every vehicle had a clearly defined place to go. The neighborhood looked cleaner, and nobody had to fight over a driveway anymore. Of course, one HOA board member wasn't thrilled about the outcome. She approached me like she was expecting another argument. She said the neighborhood needed flexibility with parking. I told her flexibility was fine, as long as it didn't mean taking someone else's property. I handed her the same survey I'd shown the board. There wasn't much left to argue about after that. By then, half the street knew what had happened. And strangely enough, people weren't angry. They were relieved that the rules were finally clear. I suggested something simple. Create a clear list of designated guest parking areas. That way, visitors could park without anyone having to guess. The HOA adopted the idea and updated the community parking map. One small dispute ended up fixing a problem the neighborhood had ignored for years. After weeks of dealing with the issue, I finally had my driveway back. And this time, everyone knew exactly where it started and where it ended. Eventually, the neighbor came over and apologized. He admitted they had trusted bad information instead of checking the property record themselves. I told them I wasn't looking for a feud. I just wanted the same respect for my property that I gave theirs. Within a few days, the entire street looked more organized. Sometimes one clearly defined boundary can solve a problem that endless arguments never could. My parking lesson wasn't about revenge. It was about making the rules impossible to misunderstand. From that day forward, nobody parked across my driveway again. The boundary had finally become what it should have been from the beginning, clear. If you enjoyed this HOA story, make sure to like and subscribe for more. And tell me in the comments, where you're watching from.